My name is Rachel. I'm disabled. I've been disabled my whole life, but I didn't get diagnosed until I was 21. All this because I'm a girl, and my disorder is more associated with little boys. Gender affects pretty much everything in our society, up to and including medical issues. Today I'm going to talk about how gender and disability are tied together, beginning even with kids in daycare, up to teenage and young adult women, and even up to adulthood. Intersectionality, or the theory that the overlap of various social identities, such as race, gender, sexuality, and class, contributes to the specific type of systemic oppression and discrimination experienced by an individual, is an essential part of modern-day feminist ideals. We are finally realizing there are multiple systems of stratification at play in people's lives, and all of them must be addressed to truly better the lives of everyone. Disability is viewed as natural and unchangeable, just like gender is, but this view is a fundamental misunderstanding of both. Yes, there are certain biological factors in both, but assuming that the way we react to these factors is universal and unchanging is simply untrue. The traits we see as belonging to a certain gender don't have to be the ones we chose. Femininity could have been associated with strength and resistance to pain, for example, and masculinity could have been seen as meaning you're emotional. The way we look at gender is socially constructed. We are the ones who decided what it meant. We are also the ones who decided how to react to certain medical conditions, and we are the ones who label certain conditions disabling. Disability is often overlooked as a system because it is seen to be its own problem, but modern disability studies say that the problem is actually more social than most people think. These individuals with disabilities are sometimes at a disadvantage when it comes to doing gender. From an early age, children are taught to behave in gendered ways. For example, girls are supposed to take up as little space as possible, while boys can take up lots of space and sit with their legs spread out. And when children don't engage in proper gendered behavior, it can often be viewed as a misunderstanding of gender rather than a diagnosis, even when the behavior is associated with a disability. For example, girls are meant to be quiet and well-behaved, which disadvantages little girls with ADHD who, by their diagnosis, are more often rambunctious and wilder, which our society will eventually view as performing femininity wrong. Or, at an older age, boys with depression don't follow the stereotypes that boys don't cry, or rather, that boys are unemotional. A proper boy should be big and strong, and that does not allow them to have the emotional symptoms that sometimes occur with depression. Treating these disorders as simply a quirk, or something that makes a child weird, means the child goes undiagnosed, untreated, and unhelped, and this is usually the reaction to such disabilities in children. More and more studies suggest that girls go undiagnosed, particularly with disorders such as autism and ADHD, due to the gender stereotypes that surround these disorders. People think of them as disorders of little boys, and so there is a belief that these disorders are more prevalent in boys, despite a growing body of research suggesting that they aren't. Without receiving the correct treatment, problems can worsen, and this is happening due to the beliefs we have about gender. When older, disabled women, particularly physically disabled women, are viewed as unattractive. They are usually forced to follow stricter gender roles. By this we mean that disabled women might feel that they need to emphasize the way they express their femininity more than women who do not have physical disabilities. People do gender to indicate their normalcy in society. Disabled women are already at a disadvantage when it comes to being viewed as normal, so they must follow these gender rules more strictly to make up for it. For example, the style and fashion choices disabled women make to be seen as attractive are stricter. Women in wheelchairs are viewed as undateable unless they are very attractive by normative standards, unattractive is unachievable for most women without making certain clothing and makeup choices. In studies, most stay-at-home dads said that their reason to be at home was that they were ill or disabled, whereas most stay-at-home moms said they were taking care of the home or family. Men are expected to work and to provide unless they physically cannot do it, and sometimes even then. Men stay home because they have to, because they have no other choice. Women's reasons for staying at home are more varied. The concept of choice is always interesting because we are shaped by our experiences and our society. Often we think we have every choice in the world, when in actuality there are limited options we can choose from at the beginning because of our society. The reason they feel they have no other choice is because of gender. For men to do gender, they can't be nurturing in the same way women can. Taking care of kids all day is too nurturing under this understanding. They'd be made fun of for failing to perform masculinity properly. This also leads to an additional demotivation on the part of disabled men, because they are failing at masculinity as well. Like gender, disability is not a pure category. Most people, by the end of their lives, do fit into a disability category. Most people, even relatively healthy adults, will sometimes struggle with health matters. The way we view people struggling with certain health matters says a lot about our society and its ideals. What we currently classify as disabling need not, in many cases, be viewed as such. With treatment, many people could do so much better than they are, and our society could choose to take care of them and help them reach their potential rather than simply treat symptoms. The creation and commercialization of Viagra in the United States offers a perfect example to examine how society constructs ideas about disability. Viagra was the first drug to treat erectile dysfunction, a male problem labeled a new disease by urologists and pharmaceutical industry representatives. Because men are supposed to seek and be able to do sex at all times, those who cannot get labeled as diseased. Today we discuss gender and disability at all ages, starting with toddlers, leading to young adults, and ending with adults. I finally got the help I needed when I was a young adult, and now I do much better than I could have without support. So can other people with disabilities. So can everyone.